Greg Hudson here from JasperSoft Technical Support, talking about snapshots. So a data snapshot is basically a query cache for JXML based reports. You can enable it for all reports, most reports, or just a few reports. Essentially, we're caching result sets in the repository for the sake of limiting query hits on the data source in cases where the performance for queries is slow or expensive. When a report's unique query is first run, the data set or result set is cached in memory. So the next user that runs the same exact report with the same parameters will have output that is fetched from the data snapshot instead of that data source being re-queried by JRS. If a user changes the parameters on the report, of course a new query will be issued to the source, and that result set will then be cached as a new data snapshot for that specific query. So in that case, two different users, running the same exact report but with different parameters, you wind up having two data snapshots cached, one for each unique query for that report. And again, that query is different because the two users theoretically use two different parameters. So a data snapshot is not something that is taken advantage of by input controls. It also has no effect on ad hoc views or reports saved from ad hoc views, because they have their own caching mechanism, which we refer to or call the ad hoc cache. And you can find out more about that in the admin guide. This data snapshot feature is off by default, but to enable it, to make the feature available to JRS, you would go into your web-inf application context-data-snapshots.xml and set this value to true. It's the snapshot persistence enabled to true. And again, out of the box, this would be false. But in our case, we're testing true. Let's see. Once it's set to true and your server's restarted, at this point, the feature is working for all reports. If you want it to work for just some reports and not all, there's one more level of configurability via the JR property, which is here. In Studio, I have a JRXML set up with the property. It's netsf JasperReports properties.data.cache.persistable. And you can set this true at a server level or false at a server level, depending on whether or not you want it to be enabled for most reports or disabled for most reports. Then you can configure the same property here at a report level for the isolated cases. Ultimately, the value of the property set in the file wins. So of course you always have to enable things in the XML file first, just to kind of enable the lower level subset. And then if you want to get more granular, you can use this property at a server level as well as at a JRXML level. So how do you know it's working? Once you've restarted your server, you can set up SQL query logging to show your queries. You can log in, run your favorite report, watch your query output to your log file. In this case, I'm running Tomcat as an app, so I've got logging going to the console. Hopefully this won't take too long. Okay, it took a second, and here we have our query being thrown into our logs. So if we come back and rerun that report, I can run it again, jump back in my logging, and we see the report is re-executing, but no log. Yep, no log. So it's working. The snapshot can get refreshed in three ways. The first is the refresh button within JRS. We hit that, and we see our timestamp updating and reflecting that the query was re-executed. Another way is via the scheduler, because scheduled jobs always cause a snapshot to get updated, meaning they always get fresh data. And the third is via a REST API service request, which can update that snapshot. Thanks for checking this out, and if you have any questions, please see the admin guide on our community or in your documentation download. Thanks. Bye-bye.